So now that we have the individual layers all in place, I've got about 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. Once we've got them in place, then we get to give it a bit more of a stylistic look by what we call layer styles. So let's have a look at the examples that are in the PowerPoint that is on the Google Classroom. So if you have a look at this one has a border put inside the edge of the images. So that's one approach that we can do with the layer style. This one has got some shadows underneath. That's what we would call a drop shadow. This one also has drop shadows, but not as big as this one. And this one has drop shadows again, but this time they're much clearer. They're not blurry and soft around the edges. Again, this is a hard edge drop shadow compared to that which is more of a soft edge, and this one as well. So these are the sorts of things that we can play with our layer styles. So let's jump back to Photoshop and have a look at how that works. So if I just click and drag, I can hide everything except the hair layer, this one. You can click on layer style, and we can choose drop shadow. Okay, and if you move that so that you can see the picture, you can play with all of these sliders and angles to get what you like. Now the first step is the blend mode, which we can leave exactly there. Come back to the opacity. This is how black it is. Let's play with distance, spread, and size first. So if I put distance, it changes how far away from the image. The spread does something again, and the size does something again as well. How big is the drop shadow? But angle is something that we want to play with. You can move it by clicking and dragging, and you can see that the drop shadow moves around, or you can actually just click on the image itself and move it. So I might put it like that, a bit down to the bottom left. The opacity is going to change how dark it is. If you keep the spread down to 0, then the size will make it a soft edge or a hard edge. You can make it subtle or a lot more obvious with the opacity slider. Opacity means how much can you see through it. So once you have that, you click OK. It's a good idea now to put all the other layers on. And here we can do something very quick. We can simply right-click and copy the layer style. And then on the next one, on the eye layer, right-click, paste the layer style. And if we do that on each layer, right-click, paste the layer style, then we begin to see how our drop shadows affect our design. It's having a little bit of an effect. Nose, paste layer style, beard, paste layer style. Then you get to see that your whole image stands off the page a little bit more. Now maybe I want to change individual ones, so that's really easy. Let's say I want the beard to be a bit darker because it's right at the bottom. So I'm going to just double click on drop shadow, and that pops up for beard for that layer, and I'm going to change the opacity to be a bit darker. And I could change the size and the spread and whatever I want. Double click on drop shadow for ear. Maybe I want to change the angle of that one. That's what we're doing. If we uncheck global light, then that will change the angle just of that one. If we try to choose the spread and the size, then we get to have more hard edges. So you can play with that to see what actually looks good. And then if I like that better, I can click OK and copy . So I have a play with that. Now, if you wanted to do the inside border, that's a different layer style. So if we do that with hair, I'm going to go layer, layer style, but that's going to be stroke, not drop shadow. And you can do both actually. You can do a stroke and a drop shadow. So choose stroke. And again, we change everything here. I would change it to inside, change the color to black, close that off. We can begin to put a black line in there. So you can experiment with blend modes. It doesn't change very much. Have a play around. And again, if you like that, I kind of like that because it's different color depending on what's underneath it. So if I click that and then copy that layer style and then begin pasting that, and then don't forget to save your image. Save it somewhere on the machine so that you can then upload it to Google.